Hello friends, my name is Amardeep. In this video I'm going to be taking you through with two important functions of MS Excel, which are hyperlink and address. So let's get to hyperlink sheet. In this sheet, as you can see, there is a small table. In this table, in the first column, I have included the sheet names. So as you can see, after the hyperlink sheet, I have got 5 more worksheets in this file, which are named as exercise sheet 1, exercise sheet 2, and so on and so forth. So I have in this table got the list of all those 5 sheets out here. In the next column I've just mentioned the cell reference. Now I'll just come back to this, what it means. What is the purpose in this file? We are trying to actually create a table of content sheet which will basically include the list of all the sheets in one file, and corresponding to that I want to include a certain hyperlink which should take us directly to that particular sheet. So effectively what I need is, in this file I've got 5 worksheets, exercise sheet 1 to sheet 5, and I want to create 5 hyperlinks here with the help of Excel function. And the purpose of creating those hyperlinks is basically an easy navigation in the file. So what I need is that if a person is currently in, say, the table of content sheet, which is the present sheet, and that person wants to directly go to sheet number 3, then there should be a link out here which the user can click, and that will straight away take the user to that particular sheet. So that is the broad intent of creating this particular sheet. Now in order to create a hyperlink, there are two ways. One is that we can create a hyperlink through an approach which is called a static approach, and second is we can create a hyperlink with the help of Excel functions and formulae, and that's typically called a dynamic approach. Now what's the difference between these two approaches? Let us say I want to create a hyperlink which should take me to sheet number 3. So what I can do is I can just write something like click here, and over here I want to create a link to sheet number 3. So what you can do is you can press Ctrl K. Ctrl K is the shortcut to create a hyperlink. Once you press Ctrl K, it will show this kind of pop-up window wherein you need to go to place in this document. Over there you would need to provide that which sheet you would like to actually go to once this link is pressed. So let's say I want to go to sheet number 3. I would click over here, and in that sheet which cell you would like to activate. So by default A1 is selected, so I'm also going with A1. So what will happen next time once you click on this cell, it will take you to cell A1 of sheet number 3. So once you press OK, then the link is created. Now just see, when you click on this, it takes you to sheet number 3. Now let's come back to hyperlink sheet. Now why I'm calling it as a static approach, this is basically created as a one-time activity, and it is not going to be updated automatically if there is any change in the sheet name out here. So let's say if at a later stage I'm going to be making a change out here, and I'm going to put, let's say, a small hyphen here, and I press enter, I go back to hyperlink sheet, and now if you try to click on this, it will show you that the reference isn't valid. So what has happened here is that this approach of creating a hyperlink is a static approach. It's a one-time approach. Whatever link gets created, that's created at that point in time by looking at what the sheet name is when it is created, and if there is any change in the sheet name at a later stage, it is not dynamic enough to be able to pick that change automatically, right? And another problem with this approach is that if there are 100 such worksheets, you will need to create this link one by one for all of those worksheets by using Ctrl K option. Alright, now in order to overcome these limitations, we do have another approach which is called a dynamic approach. Now before I get to the dynamic approach, let me just change the name of this sheet again back to the original name, which was exercise sheet 3. Alright, let's come back to hyperlink sheet. Now what we can do is we can now use a dynamic approach wherein we use a function in Excel which is called hyperlink. A hyperlink function in Excel can be used for creating a hyperlink in an automatic manner. And the best part about this is if there is a change in the sheet name, then it will automatically capture that change, and you don't have to make any changes in the link manually, right? And another advantage of using a hyperlink function is that if you create hyperlink if you create a hyperlink by using this function for just one sheet, you can straight away copy and paste this formula for all the worksheets in this table of content, and it will automatically create the hyperlink for all the sheets listed out here in first column. Alright, now before you use hyperlink, there are two parameters that we would need to provide. Hyperlink requires two parameters. Parameter number one, the link location. Now link location is basically the place or the cell wherein the link needs to take you. So if I need to, let's say, create a hyperlink for sheet number 3, then I would say that go to sheet number 3, cell address, let's say A1. That's called a link location. Alright, and the second parameter that we would need to provide out here is a friendly name. Now you might want to just right click here, you might want to write something else. That friendly name is also required to be provided in the hyperlink function. Alright, now out of these two parameters, friendly name is quite straightforward, but how do we create a link location? We already have a sheet name listed out here. That's a one-time task that you would need to do. So first of all, you will need to put the sheet names in exactly the same way it is appearing out here. So what you can typically do is you can just do a double click here, copy it by using Control C, and then go back here and paste it out here by using Control V option. Because even if there is an extra space in the sheet name out here, then it's not going to recognize it properly. So the sheet name has to be exactly the same. Alright, so I already have the list of 5 sheets out here with the sheet names. The cell reference, let's say in all of these sheets, when I click on the hyperlink, I want to go to cell A1. Alright, so how do we create a link location? Now before I create a link location, let me tell you how a link location looks like. So if I just simply write equal to and I click on any particular sheet and say I go to sheet 1 and I click on cell A1, let me press enter. Now what has happened, let me press F2 to show you the formula out here. The formula here shows that it is equal to exercise sheet 1, and the sheet name exercise sheet 1 has been included in single quotes. After that there is an exclamation mark, and then there is a cell address which is A1. Alright, now how do we create this? One option is that we can create it manually, and another option is we create it automatically with the help of another function in Excel which is called address. So address function can be used to create a link location automatically. Right, now how do we use an address function? Let me just write an address function out here to create a link location. So you just write by starting the formula as equal to address, and when you open the bracket, it will ask you for a number of parameters. The first one is the row number. Now as I was talking about the cell reference earlier, that let's say in all of these sheets, whenever I click on a hyperlink, it should take me to that particular sheet and the cell number A1 should be activated. Now while you use the address function herein, you will need to provide the row number and column number as a numeric value. So cell A1 basically refers to the first column and the first row. So I will need to mention the row number as 1, and similarly the column number would also need to be mentioned as 1. Alright, the third parameter here, as you can see here, it is appearing in the square bracket, and as a generic rule in Excel, in functions, whatever parameters appear in square bracket, those parameters are optional. Now what do we mean by ABS number? This basically refers to the referencing part, as to what kind of reference you need in the link location. Do you need an absolute reference wherein both row and column would be fixed by using a $sign, or it goes up to the extreme one which is relative, wherein neither row nor column would be fixed. So A1 would appear as A1. However, in absolute, A1 would appear as $A, $1. Now it doesn't really matter, because the link location that we are going to create out here, it's going to be used in the hyperlink function. Alright, and it doesn't really matter whether we write the cell A1 as a simple A1 in relative terms, or we put $A, $1 in absolute terms. So whether you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever option you pick, it's not going to make any difference to the hyperlink function. Alright, so let me just stick to the first option, which is absolute. Then comes the fourth parameter in the address function, which is the A1 style. Now A1 style, A1 option is basically going to have two parameters, one or two options rather. You can either select 0 or you can select 1. Now most of the times you would be seeing that the cell address is typically referred to as A1, A2, B1, B2, etc. That's typically called A1 style. And if you do not wish to pick the A1 style and you would like to call a particular address by using the R1 C1 style, wherein any cell is referred to by referring to the row number and column number, then you need to pick the R1C1 style. So for example, the cell B4 would mean row number 4 and column number 2, right? But as you know that most of the functions that we use in Excel, typically we tend to use A1 style, so I'm going to pick the same one out here, which is number 1 for the A1 style. And the last parameter over here is the sheet text, that what is the name of the sheet. Now I already have the name of the sheet out here, so I can provide reference to cell A4, right? That is why there was a need to actually create one column with a list of sheet names listed out, because we need to use it in the address function. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to refer to sheet 1 and row number 1, column number 1, which is basically the cell A1. Alright, now close the bracket, press enter. It is given as a link location like exercise sheet 1 exclamation mark $A $1. Now why $A $1? Because we have picked number 1 as an option in the absolute reference part, and absolute reference means both column A and row number 1 have been fixed. But as I told you earlier, in the hyperlink function it doesn't really make any difference at all. Even if I had selected the relative referencing option, still it would have given us the right result. So we have got the link location now has sheet name exclamation mark cell address. But how do we know that which file we need to refer to? Because hyperlink requires a complete address reference. So herein we have only mentioned the sheet name at the cell address. So what we need to do is that if you refer to the note number 1 that I have mentioned out here, it says that to refer to a location within the current Excel file, you must use a pound sign or a hash sign at the start of the address. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to put a hash in the beginning of this link location, so that we are very clear that the sheet number 1 cell A1 is present in the current file. So before this link location we must place a hash symbol. Now what happens in Excel is whenever you have to combine 2 or more values, you have got 2 options. One, you can use concatenate function to be able to combine multiple values together, or you can just use the AND symbol to combine various values. So I personally prefer to use the second one because that's pretty straightforward. So what you need to do is you just put value number 1, put AND, put value number 2, then put AND, and keep on providing as many values as you would like to combine together. So in this case what I need to do is I need to put the hash symbol before this. So I would put that hash in double quotes and then put AND symbol, and after that the address function would appear. So basically value number 1 in this case is hash and value number 2 is address. So these two values need to be combined together. So that's how we would put it. And as you can see now, this link location has got a hash symbol before it. Let us just drag it down. We've got the link location for all of the sheets here now. Alright, and once the link location is ready, you can get to the hyperlink function, write that function equal to hyperlink, and as I told you before, there are 2 parameters that we would need to provide. First is the link location. Link location is over here, which we just created by using the address function, comma, a friendly name. And as you can see, this friendly name again appears in square bracket. If you do not give it, then the link location would be displayed out here, and if you would like to give some kind of a user friendly name, you can provide that here. So I would like to actually show click here, and that I would provide within double quotes. And once the friendly name has been provided, close the bracket and done. And now you see what has happened, that these links have got created. If you need to go to, let's say, sheet number 3, you can just place your cursor here. It will take you to sheet number 3 and come back to hyperlink sheet. Let's say we click on sheet number 2, it takes it to it will take us to sheet number 2. Now let's get back to hyperlink sheet again. Why this is a dynamic approach? Why is it better as compared to static approach? Now let's say I again change the sheet name out here by putting a hyphen symbol in between. What I need to do is, now the sheet name has got changed. I will, if I just straight away click on this, it wouldn't work because it wouldn't be able to find out exercise sheet 3, because that name has now been changed to exercise sheet -3. So once you make that change over here in the sheet name, then automatically the link location would be updated, because it's getting populated through address function, and this will flow into the hyperlink function, and now when you click on this, it'll take you to that particular sheet. So that's why I called it as a dynamic approach in the beginning when I was talking about the two approaches of creating a hyperlink, because this is going to get updated automatically. You make the changes in the input values. Now over here the input value was sheet name. If the sheet name changes out here in any of the sheets, and you also make that change out here, then automatically the link is going to be updated. And friends, this is a very useful function for creating a table of content. Many a times we tend to create a lot of Excel files which have so many worksheets, so it is always suggested that we create a table of content sheet in the very beginning, and over there you might want to use the combination of the address function and the hyperlink function to be able to create those hyperlinks automatically. Now imagine a situation that if you have 50 worksheets in one Excel file and you can create a hyperlink by using this function in one go, you wouldn't have to waste your time in terms of creating a hyperlink by using the control K or a static approach for those worksheets one by one. Alright, so I hope this clarifies how a hyperlink can be created in an automatic manner. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for further videos.